Welcome to the UltraNurse Podcast. This is where we run long and where we work even longer. I'm your host, Flight Nurse, Dad of 3, a mid-of-the-pack ultra runner, figuring this whole endurance thing out 1 mile at a time. This podcast is about running, especially long, about balancing shift work, family life, and everything else that comes with real life. And let's get into it. Well, if you're watching, I'm wearing my new raincoat. All right, so yeah, I wrote an episode a few days ago about rain gear, because who doesn't love gear? So I figured, hey, let's make the first full podcast of the UltraNurse about gear. So I'm a gearhead, and I'm a planner as well. So, like most runners, I check the forecast quite frequently. I work in flight, people, and if you know flight providers, we check the weather every 2 seconds. Are we flyable? Are we VFR, IFR? All my flight peeps out there, you know what I'm talking about. So, anyways, the forecast for Dubs, Iowa, you'll hear me say Dubs quite a bit here. Dubs is Dubuque, Iowa, and that is where Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois all meet. We're right along the Mississippi River. We're not flat. We got cornfields, but we're not flat here. We are in the driftless region, and we got the river bluffs here. So we don't have mountains, but we do have the 200-300 foot bluffs here. And yeah, enough of the geography. And anyways, the forecast here in Dubuque, Iowa, when I wrote this Sunday, looked wet. I mean, like, they were calling for a chance of rain every day. We haven't gotten it's now Wednesday. We haven't got a drop. I think that's going to change tomorrow and Friday, though. So I figured, hell, let's talk about rain gear. Because every spring hits, or when the fall season rolls around, I see runners making the same mistakes with rain gear, myself included. They either underprepare and get absolutely soaked, hypothermic, just miserable, or they overdress and basically they're running inside a portable sauna. You know, there's a middle ground, though, and understanding rain gear is a big part of running safely and comfortably when the weather turns, especially if you run trails or ultra or long efforts. All right, I got my new Patagonia Storm Chaser on here. I'm going to take it off because you're probably hearing it crackling in the mic, and that's annoying. But anyways, give me 1 second here. Totally professional podcast here. I know. All right, so I'm going to break it down for you. In first order, the first line of business here is you got to know what you're buying. And so, for instance, some jackets will say water resistant. Some will say waterproof. You need to know about this terminology here, because the outdoor gear industry, no offense, Patagonia or Solomon or whoever makes rain jackets. No, I can't talk bad, because maybe someday I'll be popular and they'll want to sponsor me. That's never going to happen because I'm slow. I'm slow, dumb, and ugly. Back on point. The gear industry loves marketing. And you'll see jackets labeled water resistant, weather resistant, waterproof, breathable, moisture wicking. And sometimes people assume that those are all interchangeable. They're not. Water resistant basically means that the fabric can handle a light rain or drizzle for a brief period. Think of it as a wind jacket that can delay you getting wet. But if you're in a sustained wind, it's going to come through. Waterproof is different. Waterproof jackets use special membranes and special fabrics designed to block water from penetrating that said material. And those come with a rating too. And you'll see numbers, waterproof ratings. You'll see numbers, and it's measured in millimeters, right? And it'll be like, usually they run from 5,000 to 10,000 to 20,000. That number there, the millimeters, that number refers to the amount of water pressure the fabric can withstand before leaking. So a rough guide that I go by and that I was told is 5,000. That's a light rain. 10,000's, yeah, your steady rain, your nice Wisconsin, spring rainfall that's gonna push all the flowers up. And 20,000, that's your downpour, in the mountains, or if you know that Forrest Gump scene. Actually, I don't think any rain gear would when that's going sideways. I don't think any gear would work there. But but that's kind of your rating to go by. The Patagonia Storm Racer I recently picked up, that's rated around 20,000. Now, does every runner need that level of protection? Maybe not. If you're running 3 miles around your neighborhood and you're going to be home in 25 minutes, you probably don't need like a full alpine shell, a $200 rain jacket. You probably don't need that. But if you're going to be doing long trail runs, if you're going to be in the mountains, out in the middle of nowhere, where it can turn cold real quick, where you're going to be in the unpredictable weather, those ratings really start to matter. So always match your gear to the mission. Now, next line of business here. Got to talk about ventilation. Here's my personal rule, though. I know I want you people to listen to me, but don't live like me. I live a lowly life. I make a lot of mistakes, and I'm not that smart. I'm kind of smart, but no. My rule of thumb is that especially in the summer, I'd rather be wet from rain than soaked in sweat. Gosh, I'm a sweaty man too. In the summer, especially. I'm just a sweaty beast in the summer. I don't like that I sweat as much as I do. But I've owned a lot of rain jackets, that I picked up from farm stores or, discount places or whatnot. And they technically kept the rain out, but they trapped the heat in so badly, I finished the run drenched anyways. And to be honest with you, that's completely miserable to me. Especially if you slow down or stop moving, and if the temperature drops. Here's what I want you to look for in a raincoat for ventilation. Some of these look at the armpits now. Some of them come with zippers or vent spots in the armpits. They'll even come with back vents, breathable membranes. Be careful about the breathable membranes. And I wish that this is my only beef with the Storm Chaser thus far. Two-way zippers. Those are bomb. That way you could zip it up, and then you could take your other zipper at the bottom and loosen it up so air will flow in when you're running. But, make no mistake, even in the winter, even in the early spring or late fall, ventilation is huge. Warmth should come from your layers underneath, not from trapping heat inside your rain shell. Trust me on this, people. You don't want to be a running sauna. Your raincoats need to vent. I think the Patagonia one I just threw over there has like a kind of an overlap on the mid torso, and underneath is a vent. And I think they have them on the pits too, but I'll take a look at it later. I know I just spent $200 and I didn't even really look at the dang thing. I just looked at the ratings. But usually, if a lot of people like them, it'll work. All right. And now, if you're going to be doing ultras, you have to think of your pack strategy as well when choosing a raincoat. All right. Running packs. Most running packs are not waterproof. Personally, I run in UltraSpire packs. I use the Big Bronco, the Zygos. I have a couple Synaptic belts. I'm not sponsored by them. I really love their gear, though, and their customer service is top notch. But I love UltraSpire stuff. Shout out to UltraSpire and Ricky out there. If you ever listen to this, nobody listens to this. But none of those packs, this is nothing against my packs. I love my packs. I don't want them to be waterproof, to be honest with you. They're none of them are waterproof. They might have a couple, but I think they're pretty big leader packs, more geared towards like hiking and doing like the 300s. But so, I mean, if you don't want all your crap that you have in your pack to get wet, which I highly recommend you not getting all your stuff in your pack wet, especially if you're carrying like warm gear. If you're going to be out in the mountains or in the woods and where the temperature could change really quick, you're going to want to keep that stuff, or your socks in there, spare socks, or whatnot. You're going to want to keep that pack dry. Okay? So once your pack is soaked, everything in there soaked. Your extra, like I said, your extra layers, your gloves, your food, your headlamp. Most of those are pretty waterproof, but still, it's not ideal. So your options are, here's your options. You could line your pack. You could line your pack with waterproof bags, which in my opinion is stupid because you don't want to add weight. And plus you don't want to look like the California raisin that your mom dressed you up as when you were 7 years old back in the day. I went as a California raisin one year. You see, when I grew up, I'm stepping away from this episode right now. I'm going to tell you a little story. When I grew up, my parents never spent like $100 on Halloween costumes. Yeah, one year, my mom dressed us up as California raisins, and it was a black trash bag. That's it. It's a black trash bag. But we thought it was bomb because we love the California raisins anyway. So anyways, you don't want to look like a California raisin out there. And so the second option is you wear your rain jacket over your pack. That's the one I recommend. So some jackets are designed, you can read the descriptions, they're designed with a little extra room in the pack to specifically fit over the hydration vest. It's something to research before you go drop some money on one, or just buy larger. Always read the reviews. Most times, ultra runners especially will let you know about a product and its sizing. All right, next. That leads us right into the next topic, sizing and layering, because sizing is another thing that people underestimate. Rain jackets are not just about chest measurement. You need to think about the whole layering system. What are you going to be wearing underneath of it? I personally have way too many rain jackets. I have like 4 rain jackets now. I have a Columbia one I never wear because that's a human sauna. Actually, I do bring it out every once in a while in the winters when it's like right around 30 degrees or you're getting that wet snow, or when it's like sub-zero and I just want something to hold heat in. I don't know. I don't think I've worn it in a year. But I got a couple New Balance ones I got from Sierra, dirt cheap. And I'll wear the one when it rains because yeah, it's just a little lighter. So you need to know what you're wearing underneath of it. A base layer, you're going to wear a mid layer, maybe an insulated layer, That stuff adds up in size, If you're getting rain pants, and by the way, rain pants, same rating, same issues as the raincoats, you're going to want to know, moisture wicking, waterproof, the millimeters of protection, so you're going to wear your rain pants over tights or joggers, or you just rocking them. I would not recommend rocking them without layers underneath. I don't know. The rain pants I've always had, I've never had running rain pants. I just kind of deal with the legs, but I'm not smart. But anyways, the rain pants that I've had for like work purposes, they're not comfortable underneath. You would have to wear something underneath them, or else you'd be raw after like 3 miles. All right. But some of these coats come with shell mitts. Are your gloves going to fit under them? All those things that I just talked about affect how rain gear fits and functions. So if your shell's too tight and it restricts movement and compresses insulation layers, that's not what you want to wear when you're running. It sucks. Listen, I like suffering just as much as the next guy, but like, it's stupid to suffer, because of apparel or something. It doesn't get you anything. All right. Next, you are going to really want to read about or visually inspect the zippers and seams. Stuff's boring. I know you don't think it that stuff actually matters the most here is the construction of the coat and the quality. What water on these raincoats, it usually doesn't come through the fabric first. It usually comes from weak points. Zippers probably number one in my experience from raincoats that I've had. Then seams and through the stitching. So look for things like on my Patagonia Stone Chaser here. I checked it out up in REI before I ordered it online, and like the zippers, they got the waterproof zippers, they got sealed seams, some storm flaps or whatever. The tie cord on the hood, so you could tie it tight, so when the wind's blowing, it's not just gonna blow right off your head. The hood. So if you're buying them things in person, just inspect the coat. like you would that you're the quality control manager. I'm honest, not joking around. Once water finds one entry point, you're drenched. So again, here's what I currently have in my rotation. All right. I have I have one Columbia shell that I got from like a Farm and Fleet. No, I don't shop at Farm and Fleet. Tyson's. Big shout out to Tyson's here in Dubuque. I bought that at Tyson's. It's good, like I said, if you're in the cold, in a snow for a little bit. But honestly, that Columbia shell is best for just standing around and fishing more than running. It's not on a Columbia, it's just kind of heavier. It does have a few leak points in it. And then I have two New Balance jackets that I got from Sierra, I think. Both of them, yeah. One's more of a wind jacket. It's kind of like, I would call it a moisture wickening jacket, real thin. It's great for like on a blustery day when you just need a little protection. I never wear it when it's raining. I don't even wear it when it's drizzling anymore. I don't think it's water resistance, but it's not rain protection. My other New Balance one, that's a raincoat. It works fine, but like I said again, the ventilation just isn't there on it. So after a few miles, I'm sweating in it. But, if I'm going out for like a 5-6 miler, it's fine. It's fine. But the new addition, as I started off with, the episode with the Patagonia Storm Racer, I think that's going to work real well. I haven't even run out and ran in it yet. I was pretty excited. I got it last week, and then it's like rain. And then, of course, it doesn't rain. Story of my life. But, that's the reason why I picked that one. It's lightweight. It's packable. Again, it's rated around 20,000 millimeters for waterproofing, and it's just designed for running. Again, I haven't fully tested it out yet, but I think Friday I'm going to get a shot. And then I'll pop on social media and give you a quick review on Instagram. Big shout out to my Instagram, the Ultra Runner. Go follow me. Come on, people, give me some love. Because real weather, it's coming. You know what I mean? And then I talked about the hood design here. I'm kind of out of order here on my notes. But, the hood design, are you dealing with drizzle, full storms? You want to know if your hood clinches down. A lot of these will have a draw cord on the back, a bungee. You could pinch it down and it'll wrap around. I personally don't like the draw cords in the front. I like that little thing in the back that tightens them up, because the draw cords will bounce or blow around and then it just clank it around. But you just want your hood to secure, because you don't want it blowing off all the time in a thunderstorm. Some of these do have a high zip enough to protect your face. I don't know. This one zips up to my chin. I don't like stuff on my face when I'm running, but I am from Iowa. It gets cold here. I don't give a crap about cold on my face unless it gets like below 0. So that doesn't bother me. All right. But like a hood flopping around and blowing off your head all the time, that's annoying. It gets annoying really quick. Just the details in that stuff, it just matters. You know what I mean? So, and then let's talk price. Actually, a lot of times in life, you get what you pay for. Yeah, I get it. Hey, a lot of us listen to this show, we're in healthcare wages, EMS wages. Oh my gosh. I won't even go ranting on that. It's appalling what EMS gets paid. I'm right with you, people. I was in the trenches for a long time on the boo-boo bus. But most of us that are working in healthcare, we're not rich. We're working on budgets. Besides administrators. If you're an administrator, do not follow my show. I don't want you on my show. I'm just kidding. I love everybody, even you administrators. I'll talk crap though all day long. But you know what? You get what you pay for. And if you're planning long efforts in places where the weather could change like that, or in cold rain, this is not one of the items I recommend going cheap on. If you're doing neighborhood runs or just your local 5Ks, nothing against running 5Ks at all. I have the utmost respect for people that run short. And it's not even short. It's still 3.1 miles. But you can get away with affordable gear, and you can get away with that. But again, match the gear to your mission. And then here's some, I'll just go on this point too. Because sometimes in the summer, I am not a summer. I usually don't like summer. I get hot. I'm like a polar bear. All right. But here's something people don't always expect to hear. Sometimes you just want to get wet. If it's 70 degrees and it's raining, I just run. I don't put on rain gear. I'm not going to get hyperthermia in warm rain. But again, if it's 40 degrees and raining or 50 degrees and raining, or even like 60 for me, if it's been 80, it's going to get down to 60, I might throw it on. Because the cold rain pulls heat from your body quickly. All of us medical people know that. And that's where proper rain gear becomes important. All right, let's go back to the long races. Like if you're thinking about getting into the ultras and the marathons, guess what? Honest truth about these long races is eventually on one of these, you're going to get wet. And all these rain jackets will they'll market and say, yeah, they'll keep you bone dry, but they ain't going to keep you perfectly dry forever. It's going to get wet eventually. And this Patagonia Storm Chaser seems really well constructed, but if it's downpouring, like complete downpouring for 2 hours, I'm going to be wet somewhere, rather in the sleeves and the neck. Points of me are going to get wet. The absolute best strategy for handling that on ultras especially is change your clothes at the aid stations. Change your shirts, change your socks especially. Because getting dry makes that massive difference. And again, onto the shoe thing. I'm the anti-Gore-Tex. I'm all over the place this episode. I realize that, people. But if it works for you, go for it. But just the best thing to do is get a good raincoat. But then eventually, just put on dry clothes. You got to dry off, get dry. And if that means taking 5 minutes or 10 minutes at an aid station, that could make your race. That could save your race. If it's on your marathon, change your, whatever. If you're not, I don't know about marathons. I'm not a road running marathoner. I'd probably just run it. In the ground. But man, if you're going to be out there for more than a couple hours and you got the opportunity to change. All right. So my final thoughts here, compiling this all together. Rain gear really doesn't have to be too complicated here, but understanding a few key things helps out a lot. Knowing the difference between water resistance, waterproof. You got to pay attention to ventilation. You got to think about what you're carrying underneath, how you're dressing underneath. You're wearing a pack. You're going to be wearing a pack. Do a visual inspection of that product if possible. Even if you're on Amazon or on REI or one of the websites, you could zoom in on the pictures, but the best thing to do is physically purchase it and inspect it. Inspect the seams, the zippers. But here's the number one thing. Number one thing I want you to take away from this episode is test your gear before you use it on a race or an important run. Do not buy anything and take it out for your 100-mile race. That's absolutely chaotic and stupid. It'd be something I would do, but I'm stupid. All right. So that's a wrap for today. I appreciate you all tuning in and spending part of your run, your drive, maybe you're even listening on your shift on lunch break that you probably didn't get. So if this episode's helped you out or know another runner that could use it, or a healthcare worker or a shift worker, hey, please share it with them. Make sure you subscribe and follow so you don't miss an episode. And if you got a minute, leave a rating or a review. You can even leave a comment if you got suggestions, complaints, whatever. It helps more runners find the show, more healthcare workers find the show, more shift workers, more real people find the show. And follow us on Instagram, please, the Ultra Runner. Or no, not the Ultra Runner, the UltraNurse. I'm sorry, so sorry. And we do have a YouTube channel too. I'd appreciate it if you liked and followed and subscribed or whatever they call it to all of them. It helps more than you think. So I appreciate you all being here. And go rip some miles now. May God bless each and every one of you. And hey, much love. All right, we'll see you next time.